joyful welcome to the stage, Otis McGregor.
Okay. All right, let me make sure I got the, hear me. So that means I got it on. Hey, thank you everybody for being here. Who was it that said, choose that it's going to be a good day? Because that was my softball setup. That is the best segue. I love it when guests do that on my show. And that was a great thing for this right here. You get to choose. You get to choose. You all made the choice to be here today. You all made the choice to invest in yourself, to take the time, our most precious asset, to take the time to be here today, to learn something so that you can be better, so that you can grow your business and have more success in life. That's what this is about. We all get to choose. So here's what I'm going to talk to you about, because I love leadership. I could talk about that all day, but I'm going to limit myself to 5 tenets of being a great leader, set the foundation. Then we're going to talk about who you are. I'm going to give you a little tool to help you start to understand who you are and develop a skill that I believe is extremely important, mindfulness and self-awareness. And third, we're going to talk about how to build a team. If I understand myself, what do I do next? How do I build a team? Because I cannot have success by myself, so we got to build a team. And then finally, my favorite thing, the number one thing in life, the most important thing to be a great leader, to be successful in life is trust. And I break that down into trust triad, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. So, great leaders. Great leaders can fix a crappy team. Great leaders can take a good team and make them great. Great leaders can take an awesome team and make them even better. Leaders set that. A good team can manage and overcome a bad manager. Notice I said manager, because I do not believe there is such a thing as toxic leadership or bad leadership. You're either a leader or you're not. There are toxic people in a position of authority. There are bad people in a position of authority. There are people who don't understand how to lead in a position of authority, but they're not leaders. I believe in that very strongly. A great leader can change anything, can change the world. We can all change the world. That's why we're here. We're here to make an impact. Our business, our purpose makes an impact on the world. We're here to make that change and understand that because we are leaders. So what is leadership? Leadership is that person, that guy, that lady who sets the vision, who creates the vision and enlists the vision, enlists the team around the vision, enrolls them, sells them, whatever term you want to use. But the leader's job is not only to set the vision, but is to build the team around that vision and get them to buy into that so that they believe as strongly as you, as the leader, believe. And this quote from John Quincy Adams, I love reading this because it fires me up. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. There you go. That's what you do. Set the example. We're going to get into that. Oop, I pointed the wrong direction. There we go. So, my first tenet of being a great leader, be decisive. Be decisive in what you do. When you make a decision, decide it and step forward into it. And then, when you realize you screwed it up, been there, done that, be just as decisive in admitting it. That's what great leaderships do. You set it up and you make a decision. And when you make that decision in the moment, with the information you have, in the time that you have to make that decision, step into it and do it. Because if you are wishy-washy, if you are, maybe, I reckon, I think, I don't know, probably oughta, guess what? How much power do you think your team's going to step into it? How much action and activity are they going to take moving forward? Because remember, what is your job as a leader? Is to set the example and lead, create that vision, and enlist your team in that vision. And you can't enlist people in your vision if you're not decisive. And our great president, Teddy Roosevelt, said this, in a moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The second best thing is the worst thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. I'm going to tell you a little story because I learned this lesson. I got slapped in the face with this lesson years ago. I was a young staff officer. I'd been putting together a program, been working hard on it, doing my research, pulling it all together. Got my boss's approval. My boss said, all right, let's take it to my boss. Got his approval. Next step was the 4-star. And let me set the picture for you. So my office, because of some of the things we did, but it also was all the way down in the basement. You know where the 4-star's office is? 4-star general. That's the big guy. All the way up on the 4th floor, 5 stories above me. So not only is he way above me in the chain, he's physically way above me. So I went through the whole process of getting approval, getting my slides set up, right font, right number of bullets on the slides, right colors, all these sort of things, in the right kind of notebook because the general wanted his stuff in a notebook with no document protectors, by the way, in a notebook so that he could sit down and walk through it. So it's my time. Here I go. Man, I've already gotten 2 bosses' approval. I'm super excited. I'm like, man, I'm going to knock this thing out of the park. I'm going to save America with this program. That was where my mind was at the time. I mean, it was really at that point. This was, I believe, this critical. Day of it, go in, got my boss with me, check in with the secretary. She escorts me into my boss, into the general's office. I do the whole flagging thing, formal stuff. He says, oh, great to see you, Otis. Let's step in here. Go to the general's private conference room, sit down. General and I sit next to each other at the head of the table. My boss over here to the left, the aide, the guy who takes notes, that's never to be seen or heard, is over there on the right-hand side. I flip through. I'm nailing it. I'm crushing it with the general. Man, I'm like, can't wait. Can't wait to get this last slide. Flipping through, and the general's asking great questions. He is engaged. He's loving this. We get to the last slide. I'm a savvy guy. On the last slide, I put decision, A, B, with a box, because that's what I was told to do. Have a box there and a pen so that the general can initial which decision he wants. I get right to that point. And man, I'm grinning from ear to ear. Being very military, keeping my military bearing, but man, I'm just jumping up and down inside my head. And the general turns to me when I get to that page. He says, thank you very much, Otis. Takes the book, closes it, and gets up. And in that moment, I was like, God, who is this guy? These damn Air Force generals cannot make a decision. What is wrong with him? Come on, you're a 4-star, make a decision. And I gritted my teeth, did my salute, marched out of there, went down to my office, grumbled about it, probably got a cup of coffee, kicked the can a couple of times, talked to some of my guys that I was working with about how stupid the general was and all these sort of things. 3 days later, I realized it came to me. What the hell am I thinking? He made a decision in that moment, and his decision in that moment was not to make a decision, which is just as important as A or B. He decided not to decide because he knew that the president wanted something else. He knew that the Secretary of Defense wanted something else. He knew that he needed more information in order for that program to go forward. That's being decisive. I didn't believe it at the time. I thought he was a wishy-washy 4-star. God, those damn Air Force guys. But he was exactly on the mark. He was decisive in that. That's being decisive. It doesn't mean that you make a decision if you're decisive. It means you're decisive in making a decision. Play on words. If I decide not to decide, I still have made a choice. Where's Matthew? Who sings that? Yeah, you the Matthew. Rush. All right. Anybody ever heard of that band? Number 2, tenet number 2. Be the standard bearer. Your job as a leader is to set the example. You lead by example. You set the standard for others to follow. You do not do as I say, not as I do. That will never get you a team. In case you forget, I'll remind you right now, if you're the leader of a team, you're still part of that team. It is not them and me. I am not the boss over you. We are all in this together. I set the example. If a hole needs to be dug and we need to get it done, guess what I'm doing? I'm grabbing the shovel and digging a hole. That's setting the standard. The standard is, if we're all to be at work at 7:30 in the morning, then I better be there at 7:30 because I'm setting the standard. I'm saying this is important. This is why we need to do it. I'm setting the example that I believe it's important for me to do it, and if it's important for me to do it, it's important for you to do it. Set the standard, be the standard bearer and the enforcer. If you say it's 7:30 and everybody else is showing up at 7:30 and Bob coming in late, strolling in about 8 o'clock, you better enforce it. Because if Bob gets away with it, then Joe's going to start doing it, and Fred, and Sally. I always come up with some really weird names when I think of this. Phyllis, since I said Sally, I got to throw Phyllis out there, right? But that is against everything about being a leader. You set the standard, you enforce the standard. Create it and enforce it and demonstrate that it's important. There we go. Number 3, establish the culture. Once you establish and are the standard bearer, create that standard, guess what? That is the foundation that creates your culture. And you as the leader are in charge of the culture. If your culture sucks, or just as bad, you don't know what your culture is, there's there. If you're that guy that behind the closed door in the office, you're that guy, that leader, you don't know what the culture is. If your way of measuring the culture of your organization is through a survey, it's a great tool. You can get some good feedback, but it also depends on what the culture looks like. Because you know what? If I'm in an organization where I feel threatened with my job, I feel threatened from some toxic a-hole who's in charge, and I'm just there to collect a paycheck because I don't care about anything else other than the money I'm getting while I'm here, and I'm doing the minimum of work, that's a pretty crappy culture. And I'm going to show you in a little bit how to create a culture in a team so that you can grow a team and have more success in your business and grow your business and live a better life for yourself and your team. So establish that culture because it's there whether you know it or not. Be intentional with it. If you're intentional with it, you can take control of it. You can keep it in the right space. You can drive it forward to the type of culture you want. But if you don't take action, if you're not intentional in your culture and understand what culture is, it's there. And you don't know it. And you're not in control. And oh, by the way, if you call yourself a leader and you don't know what the culture of your organization is, then you are not setting the standard. You're not being decisive in your decisions. And you're also not doing this. This is one of my favorite things. I learned this very, very young on. Sergeant First Class Leininger. One of my still most vivid memories as a 18-year-old, as a cadet at Texas A&M. We're out on an exercise and practicing being soldiers. And we got all the bad guys killed us all. And he sat us down, told us about this. Mission first, people always. Let me translate that to business. Let me translate that to business. What are you here for? What's the business doing? What's the business succeeding at? Why do I have a business? What is the purpose of the business? Mission. People, always. I cannot accomplish the mission if I do not take care of the people. if I do not have a mission, if I do not have a purpose for my business, if I do not understand why I have a business, have clarity in that understanding, then what the heck are all these people doing here? If they don't know it and understand it, what the heck are they doing here? Mission first, people always. If we've been running hard, working on a proposal, that great big RFP comes out for this client we've been working at. Those of you who don't know RFP, request for proposal, it's a government term. Been working, coming around, and it finally comes out, and man, we've been all set up. But you know what? I've lived in that world. It's never like you think. And we just finished 3 weeks working 12-hour days to get this proposal together, to submit it on time, just slide it in right before the deadline time, because that's the culture of that organization that I was in. Slide it in right before the deadline. Worked 3 weeks straight, 12-hour days. And then we jump right back into it. That's not taking care of my people. Taking care of your people is understanding what their needs are, who they are, why they're there, what do they care about, and understanding them. How they see themselves fitting into serving and accomplishing that mission, that purpose for your vision. And the clearer that is, the higher performing that is. And I'm going to talk about that when I get to building a team. But if you remember, and take this with you, mission first, people always, and you always say that in every decision, which is what I do. How has this affected me? Are we still able to accomplish what I want us to accomplish? Are we still able to win that contract, grow our business, gain revenue? But what about Joe? Is Joe going to be okay? If I run Joe into the ground, because Joe's damn good. Joe can write, right? And I'm going to keep having Joe write because, man, now, Matt, Travis, those guys, yeah, they're all right. But Joe, I'm going to keep giving that stuff to Joe. And what happens if I keep giving that stuff to Joe and I never level it out? I never take care of Joe. I keep putting the rocks in his rucksack. I keep loading up his rucksack. What am I doing to Joe? Anybody here ride horses? You round out your horses, don't you? You don't just go and grab Sally Jane and ride her every time, do you? You switch them up. And you give them a rest and you take care of them. That's mission first, people always. You're doing that with horses. Do it with your team. So here they are, 5 tenets. Be a great leader. Decisiveness. Make that decision. Step into it. Doesn't matter. If you're wrong, that's okay. Step into it and take that action. Move forward. Moving forward is the only way to be decisive. It's a country song. Just drew a blank on the band. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like we're not making progress, right? Because if I'm taking 1 step forward and I get knocked back 2, but you know what that does? I know what knocked me back. And because I know what knocked me back, I can take 2 more steps forward. I can keep doing that. It sounds like I'm not making progress, but I am. Because every time I get knocked back, I find out what knocked me back. I'd be decisive in my actions. I take that step forward. Be the standard bearer. Set the example for your team. Don't just say it. Do it. Show it. Lead it. If you say, hey, we're going to do Red Shirt Tuesday, guess what? You better wear a red shirt there, leader, boss man. Don't go showing up in a 3-piece suit on Red Shirt Tuesday. Come on. Unless it's a red suit. And what does that do? That establishes our culture. We want to work together. We want to have an organization that people enjoy being at. They feel safe at. I'm not a woke guy, but there's some stuff about being safe in an organization. Maslow's hierarchy of needs tells us we want to feel safe where we are. We want to be part of an organization. Do that. Establish that kind of culture and be intentional in it. Mission first, people always. Never forget that. And then trust. I'm going to cover trust again because I think it's so important that I set it off aside to the end. And just hit it for me. Thank you. All right, we'll try it again. There we go. All right. Now that we understand some tenets of great leadership, we've got to understand ourselves. You got to know who you are today in order to make the plan for who you want to be in the future. You got to know where you're at on the map. Everybody's got our phones. Who used a GPS to get here today? Yeah, your phone wouldn't calculate the route unless it figured out where it was in the moment when you said go to, where are we? The Embassy Suites, right? It's the same thing. You got to know who you are. You got to understand who you are. And I believe this is a skill, mindfulness and self-awareness. It's a skill that you have to work on every day, just like any other skill, just like leadership is a skill. You've got to work on it and you got to understand it. And I'm going to show you a tool that I love that I learned when I went through my coaching certification. It's called energetic leadership. It's energy leadership. That energy leader. Energy levels. There we go. Get the right word out, Otis. Energy levels. And Bruce Snyder created this, defined these about 30 years ago, and that's the coaching school I went through. And what I love about this is it allows me to talk about that really dirty, nasty, F word that I don't like, feelings. Just ask Miss Suzanne. Right? I don't like talking about that stuff. But you know what? If I can talk about energy levels, because these energy levels are a direct representation of my yeah. Y'all say it. Y'all go ahead and say it. I ain't. Right? And so Bruce defined these into 7 levels. And by the way, let me just take a pause here. So who here has heard about the Oriental energy, the aura, sort of the glow? Very different from that, okay? Very, very, very different. This is a how do I feel inside sort of representation. And it helps us start to understand that. And what's important is it's simple. So there's negative catabolic energy. Any engineers in here? There we go. All right. Catabolic energy, right? Negative. Feels like sucking the oxygen out of the room, like I got a weighted vest on, 100-pound rucksack, and an EOD blast suit. That's what it feels like. Who here has ever come home from work, business, whatever, end of the day, and just going, ugh. That's because you spent most of the day in negative energy. Other side of that is positive energy. Positive energy, anabolic energy, expanding excess. We get to do more and more and more. I can't wait to have more. I'm excited to do more. That's positive energy. And when you understand that, and how, I'm not going to dive into all 7 of these because that'll take another hour, but that's okay. We can talk about that at my table later on. When you understand this, when you understand that, guess what? It's all a choice. I get to choose. And when I get to choose how I show up, and if I show up in a negative response, what do you think in a negative energy level, what do you think my client's going to think about me? Like energy attracts, by the way, right? Or, and I've had this happen to me when I do one-on-one coaching, I've had a couple of folks had to pull out of the dungeon of despair. And I feel that energy because like energy attracts, and I feel that. It's like, oh, and I'm feeling that drain coming out of me, and I got to snap out of it because I get to choose. I get to choose. And when I show up for my clients, whether it's leadership training or one-on-one coaching I do with my veterans, when I show up in a positive attitude, I'm pulling them out of that dungeon of despair that they're thinking they're in. And I'm helping them change that attitude. And you can do the same thing when you go and set up calls with your clients because you choose. You choose to do that. It is a choice. Nothing makes you happy and nothing makes you sad until you choose it. Life is a choice in that respect. And when we show up with a positive attitude, that anabolic energy, man, the options will blow your mind. When you show up with the negative energy, victim, woe is me, fight or flight, that's it. That's all the options you got in negative energy. You don't see the opportunities. So make that choice. There is no wrong choice, but I'm telling you, there's some better choices. So make that choice when you have that opportunity. Now that I'm starting to understand myself, I've got my leadership, I'm understanding myself, I've got self-awareness, mindfulness, I'm developing that skill, now I need a team. And I need to build that team because you can't do anything on your own. And oh, by the way, what does everybody think when they hear you need a team? They think, oh, I got to hire people. Not everybody's here can afford to hire people. Not everybody wants to hire people. But you still need a team. Nobody gets there alone. None of us get there alone. That's why we're all here, right? You need a team. A team is how you become successful. A team is how you build your business to the next level. That's where success comes. And it's not on my payroll. They don't have to be on my payroll, but they have to be part of my team. There we go. So what I did, Bruce Tuckman put together the forming, storming, performing, right? Everybody's heard of that, right? Ain't good enough for me, okay? He's missing two things, and I'm going to hit those two things. But first I want to tell you what forming is, because we're going to go through all 5 of these steps real quick. Hit me up, Chris. I'm missing the target here, man. Forming. Why are we here? What's your name? What do you do? I don't know. We're understanding the mission. We're establishing the mission, putting together a team. What skills do you bring to the table? How do you interact? Why are you here? What do you do? What's the combination to the front door? All those sort of things. We start to understand. We're pulling everybody together. We're starting to build this group. And once we start to build this group, we step into norming. And what's happening in norming is I'm getting a better understanding of why I'm here, what I'm doing, what do you do, how do you contribute, why are you here? I'm starting to understand this picture. It's not just about me as a member of the team. It's about all of us as an organization. And when we're in the forming stage, we are shifting from a group of individuals who've come together to create a single organization that operates together. And then when we hit that point, hit me up, Chris. I think I'm dying on my batteries or something. When we hit that point, we go to storming. And what's happening to storming is I know what you're going to do before you do it. I know how you're going to react, how you're going to show up, what the circumstances are in your life that influence you to act and do. I know what your skills are. I know what your strengths are, and I know what your weaknesses are. And I can anticipate how you will show up and what will happen in that situation. And I like to refer to this as a great book, if you haven't read it, about team building called Stealing Fire. Pressley, I think, is one of the authors. And he talks about flow. And what's happening in flow is we know each other and anticipate each other. I know what Chris is going to do before he does it, because we've worked so close together. We've cross-trained. I understand his role. I'm not an expert in his role, but I understand his role. And I know how he's going to show up. I know he's going to drive that minivan all the way across the country to be here, right? And I know if it's snowing somewhere between here and there, he might be a little late when he gets here, right? I know that about him because I've developed that flow. And that's what you want your team to have. That is where we all want to perform. That is the top level of performance that we can have, is flow. But you can't stay there. And this is where we take an average team that Bruce Tuckman talked about and start to move into a good team. Now that we're in flow, what do we do? How do we do this? How do we perform? What can we do better? What are we missing? What skills do we have that we don't need? What skills should we have in our team to perform better, to support our clients better, to support the purpose of the business better? What are those? And we pause. This has to be intentional. This is why this is a step from an average team to a good team. You have to be intentional in this step. Everybody glosses it over. We used to gloss this over in the Army. We spent so much time glossing this over, capturing these ideas, but never doing this. This is where a good team goes and becomes a great team. We adapt. We take those things we identified and we implement them. What are we missing? What do we need to do? And when we do that, We go right back to our circle. This is a continuous process. This is how you build a team with an attitude of success and innovation that will drive you forward and drive success to your business. None of this works without trust. And I'm going to give you a little bit about dispersed team operations real quick. You got to have oops. Did I do that? You do that. There we go. You got to have a plan. You got to set thresholds. In other words, how far can you go before you need to call and ask for approval? What are the left and right limits? Like I have right now with that camera. I've got left and right limits, right? I have to stay in this space. All right, that's my threshold. My threshold, I don't want to step off the stage, and I want to stay in it, okay? And finally, clear communication plan, because if I want to and I need to, I can say, hey, Jake, would you adjust the camera for me, right? And then finally, they all come together and are all held together with trust. And trust, I define trust as trust yourself, because you have to believe who you are, understand who you are. Believe that I am the one who can solve the problem for you. I got you, Chris, I'm running late. I am the one who can solve the problem for you. I am the one who can help you, Mr. Client, get there and win and be successful. And when I have a team, I have to trust my team to perform. Otherwise, why are they there? Why am I paying them? Why am I working with them? If I don't trust them to do their job, then am I doing their job? And if I'm doing their job, who's doing my job? So I trust my team. When those two come together, number 3 happens, the third leg of the triad, which is my team trusts me. They trust me to do my job. So trust triad, trust yourself, trust your team, and your team trusts you. So to wrap this up, you got to know who you are and how you show up. It's a choice. How you show up for yourself is how you show up for everybody. Think about that. Make that choice that it's going to be a good day, right? It's going to be a good day, and I'm going to make an impact. I'm going to help people. I'm going to win. I'm going to get more clients. I'm going to grow my business. We're going to have success. It's a choice. Leaders lead. They set the example. Don't ever stop that team. Form, norm, storm, adapt, and assess. Keep that cycle going and create a great team with a culture of innovation and success. Be intentional in that culture. And trust your team. Trust them to do what they're there to do. If you're outsourcing, if it's a friend, if it's a mentor, if it's an expert, if it's somebody that you're paying on your payroll, they're there for a reason. Trust them to do the job that you're paying them to do. I love this quote by Marcus Aurelius. Perfection of character. To live your last day every day without frenzy, sloth, or presence. That is a choice, because life is a choice. Life is a summation of all the choices you've made up until this very moment. And if you continue to choose to grow, to improve, to fight through the crap that feels like it's holding you back, that's stacked against you, then you will have success. You will grow your business. You will be able to make a larger impact in life. And help me out, Chris. There we go. Oh, dang it. Double tap. One back, please, sir. All right, there we go. So what I've got for you today is the Green Beret Leadership Program. I've taken my 3-month program and I've condensed it down just as an offer this weekend for everybody who's here for this Achieve Business Explosion. What I've done is I've taken the 7 hours of videos and set those aside and allow you to participate over 3 months, 2 of our live discussion, where we take the lessons, the academics, and we actually apply them to your business and your life. And I'm only doing this weekend because we're launching our next level of GBLP. This is our foundation level. We're launching our premium level next. So this weekend, as part of you being here, that's my offer to you, is those 7 hours of online training, 2 live group discussions during those 3 months that you have access to those videos, and finally, having that winter cigar and a whiskey. If you don't drink whiskey, you can have some iced tea. I still like to have a whiskey. That's okay. But we'll meet up at my house in Monument, sit out there on the patio around the fire, have a cigar and a whiskey, and talk about how you're implementing the leadership lessons from the Green Beret Leadership Program in your business so that you can grow your business and generate more cash for your business, because that's how you make more impact. It's not a greedy thing. It's a success thing. We grow our business so that we can make more of an impact on the world and create a better world. So, take out your phone, go to your browser. Everybody got your phones? I'd show you how to do it, but my phone is recording. Backup plan. Take out your phone, open it up, go to the browser, put in 10xyourteam.net, and you'll see right there for this Achieve Business Explosion, that offer, $397 what we're doing just for this weekend. It's a great opportunity. It's one of my passions. You can tell I'm passionate about sharing, about leadership, creating great leaders. And you know why I'm passionate about it? Because my purpose is to create a legacy of leaders. Because I believe great leaders create great organizations. When we have great organizations in our communities, we have better communities. When we have better communities around the world, we're going to have a better world. That is my purpose. That is what I drive through every day. That's my fuel that gets me up in the morning. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Please see Miss Suzanne. Raise your hand again, Miss Suzanne. Back over there at our table. Yes, my gorgeous assistant. My gorgeous assistant. And if you have any questions about the Green Beret Leadership Program, come see us. But you can find all about it at 10xyourteam.net.
Otis McGregor, give it a